Hello everyone, it's me, it's the Dude Broman, the Hiberian, and welcome to my stream. Today I'm gonna go and tell everyone that I'm live. Uh, X.com. Alright, what size does this need to be? Is that right? Yeah, it's close enough. Alright, so I haven't talked about Melvor Idol in a while, but I made some progress. I just hit level 120 archaeology today. Apparently I hit 121 also. I have the I have no storage space. Let's take all of these. Let's take some basic logs and we're not. 1.3 million of those. But I hit 100% skills completion. Which one has a farming potion? None of them? Okay, so I think I have everything. Let's go to the museum. Burning gem, golden idol, decoy idol, unholy gem. Ooh, magic flute. One level of the sieve tool and everything. Yeah, so I've just got the Melantis thing left to go. And for that I just have to find Melantis. What does this do? Puts some enemy to sleep. Gives regen. That's pretty sick. This is always chosen as the item lost on death. Perfect. And I have 100. Enables the use of some curses. Unholy item used for unholy prayers. Burn and frostburn. Nice. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So now we can go to cartography. I have no idea where Melantis is, but it's in the water, and as you can see, I've looked at most of the water. Auto survey. And then I'm just gonna let this go, I guess. Hopefully it continues to choose the water. Okay, we'll close that. Okay, that should be ready for me to click some cancel scans again. Do you guys want to watch Asmon, or do you want to watch Akalon, that new guy we found? Apparently he's been doing it for a couple of years, but they're covering the same thing. Must be Akalon TV or something. His last stream is on here. Oh, I let this play earlier, but I didn't watch it. I don't know what it said. I wasn't paying attention. I was asleep.
Tell, show don't tell, and I agree. I think that's great. But then we all love Final Fantasy XIV, which absolutely tells, not shows.
Bullshit.
Okay.
Does it not? Like what? Final Fantasy is like the ultimate show don't tell. You're literally part of the conversation. They're having conversations and you're a part of those conversations.
You know, so like clearly show don't tell isn't the exclusive way to tell a good story, because Final Fantasy tells its story really well, but it is very much tell don't show Final Fantasy XIV.
How? Please,
Oh,
please elaborate, Taliesin. Enlighten me. How is it tell don't show?
You know? Because that's a perfectly valid way of telling a story. It's a very Western thing. This, well, and specifically American in the like 1930s and 40s thing. This whole show don't tell. You know, it was actually pushed by the CIA as an.
All right. Why the writing of a show don't tell is inherently, oh my, he got it from Vox. He got it from Vox, of course. He got it from that bastion of truth, Vox. You all know what I'm talking about, right? The absolute, you know, arbiters of truth. Show don't tell meaning. Show don't tell is a narrative technique used in various kinds of text to allow the reader to experience the story through actions, words, subtext, thoughts, senses, and feelings, rather than through the author's exposition, summarization, and description.
Wait a little bit.
Let's see what Wikipedia tells us. Now, granted, Wikipedia is much better than Vox, but you know, we'll quickly do a little bit of a fact check here. Now, the thoughts describes the concept is often attributed to Russian playwright Anton Chekhov, reputed to have said, to have said, "Don't tell me the moon is shining, show me the glint of light on broken glass." In a letter to his brother, Chekhov actually said, "In descriptions of nature, one must seize on small details, grouping them so that when the reader closes his eyes, he gets a picture. Oh my... So in other words, it was pushed by the CIA agent Anton Chekhov, one of the greatest playwrights, by the way, of our generation, of our era. That great CIA plant, Anton Chekhov.
I don't know about that.
Is the one that invented show, don't tell. Taliesin, you are a f***ing moron because you lie through your teeth. You just invent shit and then go, oh, that's the truth because I read it on Vox. A quick Google search, bro, proves to you how bonkers you are. If you studied drama, both your parents are like drama teachers or whatever. You wanted to be an actor, and you don't know this shit? This shit is as old as in time. Anton Chekhov was just the guy that really depicted it. He explained it. He put it into action, into words. But it is something that has existed for a really long time. What are you talking about? Oh my god, this guy is nuts, bro. So this thing comes from the American playwright and scriptwriter Mark Swan, could talk of little else than the motto he'd placed on the wall above his writing desk, "Show, not tell," in the 1871 to 1942 is when this guy lived, FYI. Right? So, he worked for the CIA as well, apparently. Percy Lubbock, in chapter 8 of The Craft of Fiction, 1921, British essayist Percy Lubbock wrote, "Picture and drama. This is an antithesis which continually appears in a novel. Henry James used them in discussing his own novels when he reviewed them all in his later years, but I use them, I must add, in a rather more extended sense than he did. When the subject of criticism is fiction generally, not his alone, picture will take a wider meaning as opposed to drama. It is a question, I said, of the reader's relation to the writer. In one case, the reader faces towards the storyteller and listens to him. In the other, he turns towards the story and watches it. In the drama of the stage, in the acted play, the spectator evidently has no direct concern with the author at all while the action is proceeding. Show, don't tell." So it has nothing to do with the CIA. It is not a Western concept. Taliesin, you absolute f***ing cretin. Like, holy shit, bro. It is attributed to Anton Chekhov, that great Western playwright that was born in Russia and is Russian. Last time I checked, Russia is not part of the West. In fact, he's from your motherland. He's from the place that you love so much. That communist utopia that killed tens of millions of people. He's from your neck of the woods, you asshole. It's not the West. What are you talking about, you fucking idiot?
American ideal as like to combat Soviet and Russian. And you're going to say Soviet is Russian, but I mean like pre-Soviet Russia, Soviet and Russian like literature, which is very wordy and very.
All right, so Taliesin has proved first and foremost that he doesn't have a fucking clue what's going on in life in general. He's also just now proved that he doesn't actually know what the concept show don't tell refers to. Because first he said Final Fantasy is the ultimate tell don't show. Imagine that. And now he's saying that Russian literature is very wordy. But that's not what it means. It's not what it means. Let's use Anton Chekhov, right? Let's use Anton Chekhov.
Why would he believe that?
Don't tell me the moon is shining. Show me the glint of light on broken glass. So rather than write, and the moon was shining, you say the moonlight was hitting through the tinted glass, throwing rays of light all over the marbled floor. Now I have
I want a marble
you.
floor. That'd be cool.
Yes, I've used words.
I like marble.
I've typed it out because how the fuck else am I supposed to do it? I can't just think it and push it into your mind telepathy doesn't work yet, right? We haven't figured out yet how to communicate with just thoughts. So I have to put the fucking thing somewhere for you to understand, and it so happens that that's language and words, so I type it out. But I'm showing you what I'm talking about. I'm not just telling you, right? I'm not telling you that the moon is shining. I'm showing you what the moon does, and thereby the viewer or reader, or reader, right, takes away from it. Oh, the moon is shining, and it must look beautiful as the moonlight
Go check my transmog guy.
hits the glass just right at the right angle to
Stat
throw
mog.
beams of light all over the floor. It must
Market
be
price.
beautiful. Daddy Asen being the smartest man in the fucking room. Let's go.
Tell, don't show. And so the CIA, as part of the Cold War, literally saw it as an act of patriotism to promote show, don't tell as an American ideal. I think Final Fantasy XIV
I got
does
this
both.
last night.
Yeah,
I went
so
for a
it definitely
Iron
does
Foe
lots
run.
of tell, don't show, like I
And
say. Yeah, you agree.
you
with
know
me,
the
that's
fire
good.
elemental in the first room when you go through the door where you gotta click the big gear thing? That guy dropped it. I killed him on my way out because he happened to be in my way.
You and the characters. They are conversing with you. When something happens and they need you to go do something, they are conveying to you what had happened, and then usually in all of those cutscenes, they will show you what had happened while a very real piece of dialogue is taking place. So they may tell you of this giant spaceship that had just arrived and is absolutely slaughtering people, right? And in a very real sense, they're saying, and it arrived and it's slaughtering people, but then they also show you the spaceship as it's arriving and slaughtering people. We call that show don't tell. But dialogue is dialogue. When you have a dialogue with another human being, that's dialogue that has to happen. Final Fantasy doesn't do exposition dumps. This is an exposition dump. They're not having a dialogue. The way they speak is not how any normal mortal human would speak. No one would speak this way. Well, maybe like a very, very IQ challenged human being may speak this way, but most human beings would not speak this way. What they're doing here is just dumping exposition all over the place and being like, oh, that'll do. Now everyone knows what the fuck is happening, rather than showing. Taliesin, this guy should stop streaming because he makes an absolute fool of himself every single time he does. Because he shows so clearly his complete ineptitude for any concept. Like, dude, imagine being so misled by the propaganda that you read that you just accept. You read Vox, and Vox claims that show don't tell is a CIA invention, that you don't even go, hey, maybe I should just Google that before I talk about it. Maybe I should just double check. I might be completely fucking
Clear out
bonkers
these
here. And I don't
30
want to make a
minuters.
fool of myself talking about something I don't know. He says it with such conviction, and yet he couldn't be more wrong. If he tried, he couldn't be more wrong.
Yeah. So this idea that show don't tell is like this pristine, ideal way of storytelling is not actually true. There's loads of great literature which does completely the opposite.
No, there isn't actually. Name one. Like, this is the other problem that I have with Taliesin. He says things and then proves nothing. There's loads of other literature that's completely the opposite. Like what? If you're gonna say that, right? If you're literally gonna speak out against all of the great literature, name something. Like name, please. Name an
Cool, there's a
author
mailbox right there.
that wrote a book and that just told the audience everything. Didn't show them shit. They just told them everything.
But you got to do it well, right? In both case, you know, bad show don't tell is bad, and bad tell don't show is bad.
Yeah, but you don't know
Simple,
what
innit?
it means. You don't know what it fucking means, bro.
In Final Fantasy XIV, a lot of it feels like actual conversations. I mean, I disagree. I think, like, Final Fantasy XIV, I really enjoy the dialogue of it, but it barely ever feels like real conversations to me. Particularly when, like, you're talking to baddies and stuff. I like it, fine. Let's see, that's the thing. When I say something feels heightened or stylized, or, you know, I'm actually not using it as a criticism. And because you guys often use it as a criticism, you think that's me criticizing something, but I'm not. I'm just saying, like, it's heightened and it's very stylized, and particularly when baddies are talking, you know, it's like you go into a pocket.
You see, here he is trying to defend WoW by shitting on Final Fantasy XIV, then realizing, oh, I can't shit on Final Fantasy XIV. I actually have Final Fantasy XIV viewers. Actually, no. I mean, when I say that the dialogue doesn't seem like real and
fucking
stuff,
hate
you know,
Final
what I'm
Fantasy.
actually saying is, it's good. You know, dialogue shouldn't be real and shit. Dude, if you like the dialogue, then clearly it's real. Because if you didn't like the dialogue, you most likely didn't like it because it felt fake. It didn't feel real. You cannot like dialogue that feels unnatural. Unnatural dialogue will make you feel uncomfortable, and as soon as you feel uncomfortable, you're no longer enjoying the dialogue. What are you struggling with? Like, how is this? It is impossible to like dialogue that isn't real.
Okay, got those all
Unless, of
cleared
course,
out.
The
Mailbox is still
livelihood
here. They're all
depends on
gonna
it,
fit.
and you have to shill for it, because otherwise you won't be invited to BlizzCon anymore.
Dimension where time stands still, and that's not by accident. That's like a specific style of presentation, right? This idea that it's like a Shakespearean like monologue, right? Like time literally stands still while we have this conversation, you know?
I don't think time stands still in
was his
Shakespeare.
point? I think what he's referring to is...
Don't they describe like
that
the townspeople going
old
by,
Western
on Romeo and
CIA
Juliet and stuff?
concept called an aside. It's when the main character, or at least the main character on stage, has a very long monologue, and the monologue is actually happening on the side. So everything else sort of pauses while the main character is speaking to the audience without actually speaking to the audience. Yes, that is a very, very good tool, and used by Shakespeare to an incredible degree with incredible success, because the monologues were phenomenal, and they were usually presented by phenomenal actors. So what again is the point? We're talking about bad dialogue here, and you bring up Shakespeare? I don't know if that's the right play, Governor.
Yeah, totally. Anime time, like just like aside time is what I would call it. When a Shakespearean character does an aside, time is essentially not happening, and even though the person is talking, like in a way that everyone should be able to hear them, no one hears them. Stuff like that, you know.
Let's get back on this cancel scan.
What's the point? I think that's literally what it is. Yes, that is literally.
I'm leaving those hot dogs up.
Yep.
Please follow the stream.
Isn't
It's
Virenov
free.
taking the gift just contradicting her entire character standpoint? Well, she
You can
doesn't
also
think it's a Titan gift.
subscribe to me on
so no.
YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube is free.
Alright, well, now
I
we're
don't have
getting into
membership
him
on
just
YouTube,
making
but I do
It's a
have
simple
the ability
answer.
for
She
you
hates
to
the Titans.
subscribe here.
And she doesn't even hate the Titans
Subscriptions on
because
Twitch cost $5, or they're free included with your
she
Twitch
hates
Prime.
Titans because they did stuff to the Brood, right? They did stuff to the kids without consent, which sounds terrible, and I guess it is. So yeah, I'm glad it sounds terrible.
there we go.
is
Me and
terrible.
Taliesin actually agree for once. Took a while. Like, we had to go through a lot of bad takes to get to one good one. I guess that's why people like watching him, because every once in a while he happens to accidentally stumble upon a good fucking take. I'm sorry, but if he didn't block me on Twitter, I would literally just screenshot this and send it to him. According to Taliesin, that great Russian playwright Anton Chekhov was a CIA plant. I don't want to keep watching. What am I watching?
So, like, she doesn't see this as a Titan thing, so she's down with it. That's perfectly in keeping with her character. You know? Yeah, it sounds like the Titans did some pretty fucked up stuff, honestly. Yeah, and they say in the gift that, and this is the thing, like, a lot of people are saying, you know, show don't tell, show don't tell. And I think that is generally a pretty good rule to go by, especially in cinematics where you don't have.
Wait, didn't he just say that that was a CIA invention? Didn't he just, like, 5 minutes ago say
Didn't
that that
he
was a
just say
CIA invention to combat the Soviet Union or Soviet Union Russia thing, whatever the fuck he wants to say there? So now it is a good thing. So what are you saying? The CIA is good? I tell you, I don't understand.
Time for much speaking. So, I think it's good advice generally for WoW cinematics to be like show don't tell. I think it's good advice for them, definitely. Final Fantasy XIV has a lot more time for their cinematics. They can afford to indulge in a bit of tell don't show, and that's great. But I think it is good advice generally for WoW to show don't tell.
Here's good advice for you, Tally. Don't speak about stuff that you don't fucking understand. Like, that would be the best advice I can give you. If you don't quite understand the concept, yeah, don't talk about it, because you have now demonstrated over and over again you have no idea what show don't tell means. Over and over again you have shown you have no idea what it means. It is completely over your fucking head, because in your mind, anytime a character says any words that is tell. Oh, fucking hell, it just hit me how stupid this is. Oh my fuck. Alright. I can see where the confusion is for this guy. Because because the character is telling something, right? That is tell. That is the Talbot, as far as he's concerned. Showing can only ever happen in movies. You can't show in a book. You can only tell in a book.
All right, scan's almost finished. Then we'll cancel 50, and then we'll get timed out again.
I understand now where the confusion is coming from. The dude is incapable of understanding concepts. He just thinks in absolute.
But then, you know, and I mean this with the best will in the world, I do. The WoW community aren't usually always, 100% of the time, that great at picking up on stuff. Like, I know I mentioned it on Twitter. Maybe Asmund thought I was talking about him, but I wasn't. But you know, when the thing I always think of is when Sylvanas turned around in that cinematic about her and was like, there is no redemption for me. The soul might be separated, but we are not different people. She is me. I did those things. There is no escape. There is no redemption for me. Like the literal words. And people went, oh my God, I can't believe Sylvanas is being redeemed.
But she was redeemed. She was. They absolutely. They completely whitewashed her entire character by literally going, oh yeah, it wasn't her. It wasn't her. It was the bad part of her. Now they tried to sort of softcore it. You know, they tried to softcore the redemption thing by going, she still has to pay for her crimes, but that small little change, the fact that she was split in two, means that she can be forgiven in the future, which is literally what the redemption arc is about. Whether she's paying for it or not doesn't matter. She is redeemed. Like, that has 100% redeemed them. Taliesin, I find it rich that you, after like the last 5 minutes, would sit here and say that the WoW community is very bad at picking up on stuff. I find that rich, considering the fact that you think Show Don't Tell is a CIA thing, and the fact that you don't even understand the concept of Show Don't Tell. I think it makes sense that you would also not understand the Sylvanas redemption arc. Now, I didn't particularly think the Sylvanas thing was wrong. And the reason I didn't think the Sylvanas thing was wrong is because I fucking said that this is exactly what's going to happen
until it locks me
at
out.
the start when we got the Uther cinematic.
The Luther cinematic really
Uther
pissed me off.
soul was split.
Luther's supposed to be badass.
I said that's exactly what happened to Sylvanas. She was also killed by Frostmourne. Her soul was also split. The good part of her soul is inside Frostmourne. She only has the bad part left. I even showed you the cinematic where she goes in, and when she comes out, there's just the red eyes and the fucking the badass bitch that wants to destroy everything Banshee. I proved before it even came out. I showed that this is exactly what Blizzard is going to do. So I have no problem with the fact that Blizzard literally just used my story and said that's what it is. But it is a redemption. You 100% used her soul that was split as a redemption. That's not, you don't have to guess about that.
Canceling some netherweave bags.
If you didn't want to redeem her, you wouldn't have her soul be split. You would have it so that, yes, she absolutely burned the tree, and she always wanted to burn the tree. It doesn't matter. Like that's it, right? That's not a redemption arc.
Error.
Anything other than that is a redemption arc. And just because the redemption arc is going to take much longer, and it's not an instant redemption arc, doesn't mean it's not a redemption
500 and 100 and something of them are netherweave bags, so that's
she now has
good.
the opportunity to redeem herself. What does a redemption arc mean, chat? What does it mean when we say that a character has a redemption arc? It means that the character has the opportunity to redeem themselves. Isn't that exactly what Sylvanas has now? Like literally by the exact meaning of the words. I don't know what to say. Other than what the fuck. I can't keep watching this guy. Facetious, I'm sorry, but if there was anything else that he wanted to fucking share, I'm out. Like, that's enough brain damage for today.
I only got 31.
And if there are Taliesin viewers that watched up until now,
he didn't say anything. Okay, let's watch this admin video.
Has that been really comfortable to work with?
This is an interview pre-Chad with Ian about WoW.
Over the years, me and you have logged heads a few times about a few things, and then today you 180'd nearly everything we thought about over the last few years. What's going on? And like, this is a dramatic shift, going to like account focus, the whole thing.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, it's what I laid out on the panel today. It's a mix of, we say it's the technology, but we make the technology get there. It really is letting go of old stubbornness. You know, something we've been talking about, I think, since midway through Shadowlands. Certainly not before Shadowlands, but midway through onwards.
Well, that makes sense because midway through Shadowlands was whenever everybody quit the game. So yeah, exactly. That's totally fucking true. And that's what it took in order for them to start listening, is everybody quit.
A mix of seeing reception to Shadowlands.
Yo, what up?
A mix of also seeing how the modern player base played Classic. Over the
Yeah, you
course
can get
of,
a camel mount.
2019, 2020,
White camel, I think it is.
Made us kind of just rethink all these assumptions about how
I need to
WoW
go
should
to
be,
the
what was integral
drops
to
page
WoW
and
versus
claim
what
mine, I
needed
think.
to evolve,
I don't think I
what needed
pressed the
to
button.
adapt to the way players were looking to game in the modern age. And so I think, you know, for a long time, a lot of these character investment philosophies were the byproducts, were handed down from my forebears, from the people who trained me, from the original leads. Exactly.
You came into a lot of rules that were established.
And it was like, your job as game director, Ian, is to safeguard this tradition do it well.
I think that's definitely
I got a
true.
slimy
And it feels
Murloc
like, yeah,
scale.
there's a lot of things in WoW that are like that because they've always been like that. I think, for example, boss runbacks are like really good example of this. Like, there is no reason that you should have to run back to a boss. You should just respawn in front of the boss. Because clearly respawning in front of the boss isn't a problem. Because if it was, you wouldn't have bosses like, for example, Farak, where you respawn in front of the boss. So if it is a problem, then why do some bosses have it? And if it's not a problem, then why don't all bosses have it? It doesn't make sense. Hard to disagree. You need punishment for dying? You do. It's called dying. You already did get punished. You lost. You wasted your time. And this is what I'm saying, is that you have a community of people who like having their time wasted because that's the way it's always been. It's always been like this. This is the way the game is. That's the way it needs to be. But the truth is that no, it's not. It doesn't have to be like that. And there's so many things like this. MMO players are conditioned to be abused. MMO players are conditioned to take pride in having their time wasted.
And so taking a step back and being like, well, no, what if the tradition's wrong now? What if the tradition was right 20 years ago but needs to change today? That can be a hard conclusion to come to, but we're certainly there now.
What was the first domino to fall? I'm really curious because today a lot fell.
Oh yeah, another
It's
week
like,
bag
we're
selling.
getting rid
That's
of
what I
not
wanted
only
to see.
The account, we're going more account focused instead of the
I
character.
think the domino that really fell initially was account-wide achievements and account-wide mount tab. Like, it happened like years and years and years ago, but like that was the beginning of this.
But we're also dropping, like, taxing you on moving resources around. Like, all these very established things are happening, and it felt like one thing fell, and it's like, let's look at everything here. This no longer makes sense. This no longer makes sense. And it doesn't fit together. So was it a case of that?
I think that's probably to an extent. Mace's run back, in my opinion, is to facilitate conversation in a group about what went wrong and what can improve for next poll. Okay, well then why don't all bosses have run backs? Why is it that the last boss, who's the hardest boss, doesn't have a run back? Wouldn't you need to talk about that one the most? There's no logical consistency with that.
Yeah, I think it was ultimately. It was asking the question of, are these principles actually making our players happier? Are they? Who are they serving? If we are honoring some vision, some set of values that we hold dear as developers, but it's alienating our players,
Yeah.
who is that good for?
I really love that What Sword shirt.
And so I think looking at the
And
data,
that's what I feel like Blizzard did for such a long time, is they held on to these systems and these changes, like almost like in spite of the players. I think like the corruption vendor was a good example of that. Or, you know, Legion artifact weapons.
hearing the feedback from not just our community, but also ourselves, members of the team, who all play alts as well, that, you know, the focus really, I think quality time is something that is a through line through all of this. We're trying to respect players' time, but doing that is not just, you know, about what we do in an individual character. It's about making sure that as much of the time that you choose to spend in our world feels like high value to you, and not business.
I think that's a big reason too, and I think the big problem is that nowadays people play a lot of different games, whereas before people only used to play WoW. And I actually don't think this is a shortcoming of WoW. And I think that even WoW has cannibalized itself in a certain way. So a good example of that is Classic WoW, or Wrath of the Lich King, or Hardcore. If you're spending time farming a reputation in one game, you're not spending time farming something else. So whenever people are evaluating the time value of what they're doing, even against another version of the same game, that's bad. So yeah, I think that WoW exists in an ecosystem, whereas before, WoW was the ecosystem. Does that make sense?
Easy work, not wasting the time, so that you can get to the stuff that you enjoy in the hours that you have left. And so it's that, you know, the product of that set of realizations, I think probably led us sort of seriously down this path 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
But then we ran into, as I mentioned, you know, a bunch of technical challenges where it's like, okay, you could see the piecemeal movement in these directions of
like with
more
Conway and
things, you know, unlocking on vendors and being mailable to alts and so forth. But the actual solution.
Yeah, he's right that like it seemed like they started doing this like towards the second half of Shadowlands, like what he said. And like then afterwards it was like
I'm stoked for
kind of
warbands.
you know-
Like, I'm gonna pause this for a second and just talk about that. Actually, I am stoked for warbands. Like, I've got stuff scattered across characters that I want to use on other characters, but I have not been able to for this whole time. Like, transmogs are great, account-wide mounts are great, account-wide achievements are great, but now that the progress is going to count for all of your achievements, so you can like have a level 19 twink and be working on your 100,000 honorable kills achievement. That's great. I recorded that. That's why I said it twice. Alright. Let's get back to watching this.
Band-aid solutions.
And required, expansion level work to deliver.
I don't think it's something that's appreciated enough, right? Because we talked about it with the bag space of like the actual original backpack. Because like legacy reputations, like you said today, yeah, we're going there. It's going to be retroactive though. We're going to have to like go backwards and backwards and backwards. And I'm sure there's some people that's like, can't you just copy the number out of one character and call it GG? But no, it's kind of a big effort, I assume, because you obviously would like to do it very quickly. But
yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, and it's not.
I mean, when it's
the number
when it's built
it's all the other
on
places that
on
reference the number.
everything that's like one Word document, and it says like Exalted Kirin Tor. They can't just change it so that it's an account-wide check that goes account-wide Kirin Tor is exalted. Like they have to make it so that like each character calls to the system and asks what the reputation level is supposed to be. But that's cool for stuff like bind on account items. You're going to be able to move them very easily through the bank. It's going to be sick.
All the parts of our quest system, our player condition system, vendors, etc., that are where are they looking and what's the source of truth for this? They're also, in the case of account-wide reputation, there are design challenges to work through and things to come up with. We need to make sure that we're changing our sources of reputation to
These hot
also
dogs are
largely exist at a
125
warband level.
all day, all
If
day.
now the right way to max a renown becomes we'll just do the exact same things on 6 different characters.
Yeah,
and
all
because
the
it's all
Ooh, looks like Ian might have played a little bit of Lost Ark.
goes in
Adding
the
on
same
top,
bucket.
yeah.
Well, A, now that's unbalanced, and B, that's actually like not fun either. The point shouldn't be repeat the exact same activity in multiple characters for more rewards. And so again, all of that needs to change as well, right? We need to rethink a lot of how we build the content to just be framed in an account level sense, to look at the player behind the keyboard rather than the character that they're playing.
oh, that's superb. I wanted to come at you with a lot of feedback I've seen from my audience, which is a lot of people who would like, they call it the WoW Exodus and all those kind of people who are very burned with Blizzard, but do want to come back, but also of like untrustworthy and they're skeptics and all that kind of stuff. And the cadence we saw from an interview with Maria earlier is that
Dude, Preach is asking the big questions, isn't he? Holy shit.
cadence is looking like 1.5 years per expansion. Some like slightly slower, but it's like a roughish.
Yeah, I
kind
think,
of thing.
I think the key points there. I think the most important thing, or like the content train has no brakes, is the goal here, right? We don't want to have any
I
long.
think they've delivered on that too. Dragonflight has brought out a lot of content.
Dragonflight has
Like, it's
brought
the
out a
first
lot of
time we
content,
ever had
and
a
it's come
roadmap
out
for
pretty
retail.
fast.
Like, like a lot of developers say something like that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, the content train has no brakes." Sure, buddy. But like with retail, I think it's true. Yeah, they've been releasing a lot of stuff.
Pauses, any long lulls, where there's nothing new going on in WoW ever again. And now those updates come in different shapes and sizes. There's expansions, there's big,
That's cool
.0
that they don't
patches,
want
and then some of
any-
the smaller
any,
patches that we've rolled out with Dragonflight.
breaks of, like,
I think we're
one
really
year.
happy with how that mix has worked out over the last year.
It was rapid.
I think, yeah, and I think and it's going to continue, and that's what we're signing up for. That's what the future is. That's not expansion specific. That is what the whole World Soul Saga aims to deliver. I think something that I am, as a point of personal pride and learnings as a developer, like when I first became game director on WoW, it was during the Legion expansion, right before Legion came out. And one of the things that I will admit, I personally pushed pretty hard for was a much more rapid, aggressive, robust patch plan than we had seen in any of our previous expansions.
And to be fair, remember Legion had like a 77-day patch cadence? I think they delivered with that. Like Legion had a lot of content.
I thought this will be amazing for players.
Yeah.
And if I may flatter myself, I think it was. But it came at the expense of Battle for Azeroth development. It came at the expense of just getting the next expansion done, but also
resources
polished.
are finite, right? Like
Exactly, resources are finite.
Yeah.
And so I think, and then we backed away from that for a while. We're like, oh, well, that clearly was, it's not worth sinking the next expansion in some ways to do this.
I hope they realize that they sunk Battle for Azeroth by implementing bad systems and just not tuning things properly. BFA had a lot of really great things, and BFA had a tremendous amount of content in general. Like 8.2 is one of the best patches that Blizzard has ever done in the history of WoW. It was insane how big 8.2 was. So I'm not going to shit on BFA for that at all. The reason why BFA was bad is because you couldn't trade Azerite gear at the beginning. It's because you couldn't respec Azerite gear easily. You needed 3 versions of the same helmet, one for each spec. It was stupid. That's like you need a corruption vendor. You had to do visions 4 times before your raid to make sure that your cloak was upgraded. Like these were the problems with the game then. It
I never
had nothing
did
to
the
do with like the amount
hero
of
or
content.
the
It had to
haunted
do with how
visions
you
or whatever they were
interface with the
called.
content. They could have left 8.3 out for 6 more months and it probably would have been fine, as long as they gave people the ability to play other classes with full corruptions. But because the systems were so suffocating, people just wanted to get out of the game because it was actually a fun game to play.
But I think over both, learning from experience, but also growing the team and investing in the team, doing things like our acquisition of Proletariat last year,
Frost Savage
kind of
set. Let's
continue to
go.
marshal the resources that we need, have gotten us to a point now where I think we can pull this off, where we can deliver the patch content that we did during Dragonflight and still be set for something as ambitious as the World Soul Saga, as War Within, as the next step.
I think the big concern that I have with a lot of this newer content is that I feel like a lot of it is like flash in the pan. Like you do it for a few months and then you never do it again. And I would like if the big systems that are super successful, they took an approach kind of like PoE, where they go kind of core, where these systems now become part of the base game kind of, and they exist on an account-wide level. Like I would really, really like that. Because right now I think it's a huge problem. Yeah, like dragon riding. I think dragon riding's the best example I can give for that. I just hope they do more of that. That way, like, you don't add in this cool new crazy system and then nobody gives a shit about it after 6 months.
Now, in terms of the content, the cadence within the saga itself, I think our goal is, as Chris said, faster than it has been. Certainly faster than the 2+ years where, it'll take until the end of the decade to finish the story. That's not what anyone is signing up for. But beyond that, I think we're going to be guided by our community, make sure that we also give the content time to breathe, and that if we're going to a new zone, we're going to a new raid, we're not rushing you through it just to get to the next step of the story. We want to still make sure that all of it feels rich and deep, and that we're earning every step of that journey.
Yeah.
One final note, just I guess I've seen questions raised on the internet and elsewhere. Like,
the skeptics are on force.
Is this like shrinkflation? Like yes. How
Bro, he brought it up like he didn't even answer a question. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. True. Good question. That would mean more tame expeditions without doing more exciting additions. Game will be bloated as fuck. Well, I think that
109. Good. We're making progress.
Just do what PoE does, right? Where like whenever each league comes out, the league exists in core like this, right? So it's not like each league is like this. They all exist like this. So yeah, I definitely think people think this, the shrinkflation. Shrinkflation is whenever, instead of raising the price of something, they lower the amount of food that you get, right? So instead of like a 16-ounce drink, now you get a 12-ounce drink. And it was $5 and now it's still $5, but you get less.
You get fewer chips in your bag of chips.
Yeah, you're just trying to push it out to sell an expansion 6 months quicker.
Exactly. No, these are expansions, right? Exactly. War Within has 4 zones and 8 dungeons and a raid and
Dude, Ian
new
just
levels.
did a racism against British people. He's like, sorry, you mean
something more.
They're crisps. You don't know what I'm talking about, obviously. Like he knows it's potato chips.
Reinvent the game. Like I get it, and retail WoW is a known entity. It's existed for 20 years, but like the last time that WoW really reinvented itself was Legion. I feel like every patch,
chips is kind of a dumb word.
Legion and after Legion, I'm just playing the same patch. But after Legion, I really felt like I was playing a different game than I was in Warlords of Draenor or in Mists of Pandaria. Like, I think that the problem is that, oh, well, what do you mean? We're adding 4 new zones. We're adding 8 new dungeons. That's not... I don't think, like, that we got enough dungeons. We got enough zones. Like, add depth. And, like, maybe delves are going to be that, right? Add delves to depth, right? I mean, I don't know. We'll see. But we need something that's, like, innovative that makes the game feel fresh again. And Legion made the game feel fresh. For all of its problems and all of its, you know, I don't know, like, setbacks and everything, it did make the game feel fresh.
We're not going to talk much in detail, but Midnight, I can say, we'll have 4 zones and dungeons and a raid. Like, these are expansions as you've come to know them. And we're just going to, you know, not have gaps. And we're going to be ambitious and purposeful as we unfold the story.
Yeah, I think it's such a big move. From what we've seen in the past where expansions have been all self-contained, one-and-done sort of scenarios, how has it been internally with, like, seemingly now a 7-year-ish plan that has a very clear and distinct, actually, beginning, middle, and end with War Within, and then Nightmare, and then The Last Titan? Has that been really comfortable to work with? Like, okay, we have a beginning and we have an end, and it's not a case of...
So are these new expansions, if they're coming out...
Okay,
like,
are we going to the Dragon Isles next time?
6 times 8 is
what are we doing?
a year. It's 48.
It's partly comfortable, partly terrifying. Right, I mean, certainly pulling back the like, because we're also
48.
That makes sense, right? Because
That's
like, if, people
if we get the full expansion in 1 year,
something for the next 7 years.
They're kind of.
You can't just be like, oh wait, never mind.
It's not going to be
Make
7 years.
commitments.
If it's
we are.
if it's a year and a half, it's
it's
like 5 years.
Of this that now we can't change. We're going to have to work around. If we come up with, if we realize there are some challenges with the ideas we have. If we get feedback, if
it's like 1 year per total expansion, like that would be fine.
To the structure that
they
we've
ask
laid
you
out.
for $60 every
time,
November.
Yeah, certainly, you know, knowing for sure this is where we're going, this is where we're going to be, aids us in both planning for the future, but I think building
it also helps them like future-proof existing systems that are being added.
Richer worlds and stories today, because we can foreshadow, we can plant the little seeds for things that we know will make sense. As opposed to at times in the past, frankly, doing what seemed cool at the moment, and then, okay, asking ourselves, well, what do we do next?
It's
and then trying to piece
YouTube shots. Is what it feels like. It's like, this is a
exactly.
really cool
These are ready to
cutscene.
post.
But then, you know, we talked about the world not reflecting it and where it's going. But now, you know, well, it will reflect because we're already building the next world. And it's, I have two things.
Cataclysm, right, was cool in that way. It changed a lot of things.
Things on this. One is the technical side. Is when we last spoke, we talked about the issues of we came up with a feature. The community really liked it, but it didn't show the cracks and the crumbles until the late expansion. And obviously, with the development cycle that you had internally, is like the next thing that was already built off that is already steamrolling. So has there been, considering you're creating a lot of evergreen content now, has there been any changes internally in the structure that allows for a much more flexible adaptivity to, like, oh, delves, we can talk about delves. Like, delves started off, people loved them, they were great, they were getting heroic gear from solo play. Towards the end of the expansion, though, they really started to show some issues that people were having with them, and et cetera, et cetera. But we've already built the next 12 delves.
I think most of the time, the problem exists with the implementation.
I don't know what
not the
delves
system at a
are.
core level.
Is that a
Like,
current
for example,
mechanic?
Azerite armor was
Is that like
really
something
cool
you do
at
in
a core level.
Dragonflight?
Artifact weapons were really cool at a core level.
Is that something you do with the Niffin?
Pretty much every system, Torghast was really cool at a core level. The problem is almost never with the content itself. It's with either the tuning, the implementation, or the reward structure of the content. So
what I'm talking
I
about,
actually really
1000
wish,
G
I was
from
sad whenever they
undercutting.
decided to just give up on islands after BFA. Or they just decided to give up on
Cooking out of
Torghast
there
after
so it goes
Shadowlands.
faster because I don't want to
I don't
undercut
think
my
that you
hot
should
dogs.
do that. The problem with Torghast and Islands was that they were mandatory, not that they were bad content. People liked doing them in the alpha.
That's like guaranteed money.
How is it
I
that
sell
people
it.
liked it in the alpha and they don't
Oh,
like it now? Doesn't that mean that it's not the system fundamentally?
Okay, it's
That's absolutely a risk. I
The
think
new-
that remains
the new,
a risk in
solo
any live
dungeon
service
thing for
world.
the
We
new
need to be,
XP
no
seems
matter how
pretty
nimble
sick.
we get, at
you
some
can,
point we
like,
still need to
have them
plan ahead and commit
have
and
them
start
do stuff.
working
Did
on
you
something
watch any videos
before
about
we
that
know
yet?
for
I
sure
watched one
where
yesterday.
the winds are blowing in the present. What we can do to insulate against that is just share our plans as transparently as possible, get things out on alpha and beta for testing as early as possible, and I think make sure we're aware of past pitfalls that have only shown up later on.
This AI follower dungeon.
How we doing there, boys and girls? Manthis here, welcome back to another video. So we've been playing around on the PTR today and we've been testing out the new the new sort of AI follower dungeons. This is on the patch 10.2.5 PTR that got announced last night. The patch is going to be called Seeds of Renewal, and we got a little bit of a heads up, a little bit of a Blizzard article going over some of the main features of this. We were testing this on the stream, and the one we were testing out for the most part, and what I wanted to talk about for a few minutes in this video today, is the Dragonflight follower dungeons. I'll leave a link to this article in the description down below if you want to have a read through it in detail yourself, because there's a bunch of cool stuff coming in the new patch.
But I told Jerome about this. He didn't even hear about it.
Quite a cool little addition. I'm quite excited about these, and we tested some of them out, and they look pretty good. You can tank, heal, or DPS alongside NPC non-playing character companions that will join you on your dungeon adventures. They will be available for all 8 normal Dragonflight dungeons and will scale from 1 to 4 players. So you and a couple of buddies could, if you can't quite fill that entire party, choose to do a follower dungeon and dive in and have those remaining slots filled.
This is all from economy work.
Or the thing that I really think Blizzard should focus on more so than anything else is this next bit. The companions will allow players to learn about Dragonflight dungeons at their own pace and provide the freedom to experiment and customize their party makeup. This is, for me, the big selling point of this feature. I think this allows people an entry into an environment to test out things without the stress
Played
of
like half a TBC then?
Potentially annoying others, right? You can stand at a target.
Were you
dummy,
a high-level player?
Did you get a target dummy all you like to
do the
figure out your DPS rotation? But it's incredibly difficult to practice both tanking or healing without doing it.
I didn't rate it all in TBC Classic.
It can be quite a daunting process for some players, especially new players.
In TBC, the first time I started rating after
and this is where I think the advantage of these follower dungeons could be really strong. If you want to pick up a new class, if you want to pick up a new spec, heck, you just want to try out some new talents or abilities, you can go and do a normal dungeon, and you know, it's a safe environment for you to do so. It's a nice little test environment, and that's kind of what I really feel these follower dungeons should be. Now, I'll talk about some of the limitations of this in a minute and some of the pros and cons to it, but I think from a testing perspective, these could be really powerful. We had, way back in the day, things like proving grounds, which were a way that Blizzard implemented for you to be able to sort of go into a fake environment and test some of this stuff out. They even went as far as making proving grounds a requirement for you to have access to LFR, which was maybe a controversial decision.
What did you play?
This was all the way back in
TBC. I played a mage.
Most people probably don't even remember.
I played Paladin.
But if you're new to the game, this could be a very good way
to
get into playing some dungeons. Obviously, for the moment, we are going to see this with Dragonflight dungeons, which most of us are going to be very familiar with. But let's look at this from the perspective of a brand new expansion that's going to turn up at some point next year. If they're able to say, right, these are the brand new dungeons, go and have a bit of an explore of these dungeons at your leisure, it could be very, very good. Looking at this, we did do some testing today. You can't use this for leveling your characters from like 0 up to 60, but you can use this for leveling your characters from 60 to 70 because they're considered normal dungeons, and you can pick and choose whichever one. And one of the clear advantages of this, especially if you are DPS, instant queue times. No longer us at DPS are you going to have to wait 5, 10, 15,
Mists of
maybe as much
Pandaria,
as 20
Warlords of
minutes in some
Draenor
cases to get into a dungeon. You can dive straight in. So let's do this, and let's have a little bit of a look at what is presented
I
to
came
you when
back
you
at
get
the
in.
end of Mists of Pandaria
You are
and
joined
Legion.
by 4 friends. From what I can gather, these 4 friends are the same 4 friends you'll meet in all cases. You have a Fire Mage, you have a Protection Paladin, you have a Resto Druid, and you have a Shaman as well. So you have a crew of people that will turn up and help you. And if I'm brutally honest, it's quite clever. The mage puts down a table for you, the tank will go do tank things, and the heal will heal you. You have 1 extra button, which you should just be able to see at the bottom of the screen here. This is called the Dungeon Assistant button. This is basically a toggle on or off. You can choose to lead the party and to choose to go at your own pace, or you can tell the tank to go.
The system would probably be really good for grinding loot as a healer.
To allow the follower to lead the way, I will keep you safe. Follow me, and off you go. This is all completely NPC. These are completely AI based, and you can follow along and you can pew pew. And the healer will heal you, and obviously if you choose to play as the healer, shush Alex Straza, if you choose to play as the healer, you can practice your healing, and the tank will only go so far. You can see the tank's even doing some clever things. It's line of sighting. The AI is actually remarkably clever. You can ninja pull. If we ninja pull, the tank will, come and hopefully try and save you, try and take aggro back off you. It is entirely possible, by the way, if you are a little bit overzealous, to cause wipes still. You can see the tank's health is taking quite substantial damage here. It's not a completely 100%. You can still fail, let's put it that way. But the point is if I just stop here now, the tank will only go so far forward. She might pull the next pack, but she won't continue on through the dungeon in its entirety. So you can't totally AFK the dungeons. One thing we did notice
as
well
is if you could AFK the dungeons. I mean, you could just like stay in range as like a leech mage or something.
Becomes a little bit problematic.
Just stealing loot.
Despawn time of
doing
mobs
this all day, every day
is really, really quick. They've clearly tuned it so that if you are just AFKing, you can't completely scumbag your way through the dungeon and get free loot. We'll talk about loot a little bit in a minute, actually, because that's a topic of conversation. I have a bit of a hot take on this, and I want to see what
I don't remember if this said you get like normal
during the stream,
dungeon
exactly
loot
what I mean.
for doing this, or if you only get trash
as
from
you can see,
from the
tank does
ground
tank
mobs.
things, healer does healer things, and it's all pretty smooth. If I click the button again to say that I want to lead the way, everybody waits for me. This I think is really good. You get a phone call, the baby wakes up, you need to take the dog for a pee, you want to take a bathroom break, you want to grab a drink. It's entirely flexible, and this is really, really cool. I think there are some vast advantages to this for a lot of players. Firstly, I think the queue time situation, especially if you play DPS, is going to be a massive quality of life advantage here. Huge quality of life to be able to just chain run dungeons if you so choose. This could be a really good way for you to level up your characters, at least, in that last bracket of 60 to 70. If going and doing all of the world quests is just too much like hard work for you now, maybe
if this gives you regular dungeon loot that you can like DE and stuff,
I think this is going to be very advantageous for people who are just learning a
make
new
a lot of money.
spec. I, for example, have tried over the years to keep a lot of characters towards max level, but it means it could have been 12 months, 2 years since I've last played a class. If I was to say jump on my Warlock right now, although my Warlock is level 60, I would probably have absolutely no idea what I'm doing with the Warlock. I may not necessarily have played any more than one of the specs on the Warlock. It means I could switch things up, and I could go into a dungeon, and I could test, and I could play around. And I'm not going to annoy anybody, and I'm not going to put anybody else out due to low performance. And more importantly, that also applies to things like healing and tanking.
Tried to play
It's
Eve
been
one
historically
time, and
quite difficult for people
I think
to
my
get
computer
into
couldn't
healing
really
and
run
get
it.
into tanking if you're new to the game, because there are strong expectations of you just instantly knowing what you're doing.
That was like 6 or 7 years ago, though.
And that's not always the case. You can see here, if I'm choosing to lead, whoever I tag and whoever I pull,
Okay, this was
tank
50
goes
last
in,
time,
tank
so
does tank things, and we
I want
continue.
25 more.
We did test this as well, actually, for reference. We tested this with me being the tank. I took my paladin and went prop. Tested what happens if I'm the case, and if you tell your party to lead the way, the mage actually does the pulling, which is quite interesting to me. The tank, under normal circumstances, will skip mobs that you don't really necessarily need to kill. If you tell the tank to lead the way, you'll see it skips this pack of mobs over here, off does the pull-in. Tank does tank things. It's quite clever. So overall, I think this should hopefully have given you a bit of an overview, and I hope some of you will understand some of the benefits of this. Where's that Resto Druid going? What I wanted to talk about, though, is I think this is maybe, in a way, a little bit too good.
Why are they
now, what do I mean by this? Well, look at it from the perspective if you are leveling up and you have this as an option available to you, why would you choose to play with real people? And this is a bit of a moral dilemma for me in video games, of that I know, you know, to make sure that there's always players available for you to play with, AI companions can be very strong. But at the very same time, the advantages of playing with AI when it's this good is, why would you choose to play with real people given the option now? Now, my solution to this is that I am quite certain in saying that I do not believe that this mode, the AI follower dungeons, should have loot in them. This caused a bit of controversy on the stream. Some people agreed, some people didn't agree, so I'm interested to see what your opinions are on this.
I mean, if the intention is for you to
my
learn
logic and my reasoning
dungeon,
for this is
maybe
that
it shouldn't have
it
loot.
would really solidify this as a training mode for people.
It's supposed to like
it would
give you
strongly
the normal gear
solidify
so you
this
can
is a
get
good
into
place for you
heroics
to go
and
to
then
try out a
into
new
mythic
class,
zeros or
try out
whatever.
a new spec, maybe
it's
level
supposed
your
to
characters a
leapfrog
little
you.
bit. But it's
I
not
can see
going
that
to
being
fall
good.
into something that players progress through. It's not going to fall into the progression path per se. It will simply be a training exercise for players. Now, the obvious issue with that is that people very quickly came to the conclusion that then why would anybody do it? And I don't think this is a piece of content or a game mode that
I would
is
do
strictly
these
designed
so that
for
I could level up
everybody.
without other people. So that
I
when it's
think
like
that
3
this
in the
is a
morning and I
good
can't sleep,
first
I could just be
initial
like,
step
time to
into
chain
either
run,
tanking,
whatever.
a good
this
first
is
step
Ultimate.
into
Yeah,
healing,
it's
a good
Ultimate.
first step for you to allow yourself to explore a new dungeon without interrupting anybody else's playtime or experience. You are not clearly going to do this forever as your main primary focus of play, and what better way to emphasize this as being just a training mode than to say, right, well, you can walk through it with AI, but there's no loot to be had in here. If you want to actually progress properly, you are then going to need to learn in the AI mode and then maybe progress into normal dungeons, with obviously the mindset eventually of joining a guild and having organized groups. If you just want to speed through the content, then getting 4 friends of yours that all know exactly what each other are doing and are all very experienced is the end goal for everybody, surely. But I think if they wanted to really excel this and showcase this to be a good place to test and to learn, removing loot, I think, is actually quite a smart way to sort of show the progression for this and to really solidify what this mode is for. As instant queues, no issue with other people doing other silly things, no issues with other players disconnecting, no issues with other players playing the wrong spec, no issues with other players being overly toxic. There's quite a few advantages of playing with AI, and I think they need to be careful about balancing that out, and I think the easiest way to balance that out is to maybe remove the loot from this mode. If you remove the loot from this mode, it also allows Blizzard, I think this is still, you know, up for debate. I think it allows Blizzard to take this concept and spread it throughout the game a little bit more. I would love to see this kind of AI mode for LFR. Just recently, with the launch of patch 10.2, it's been a big point of contention for a lot of players that to kill Farak, to kill the final boss, to see the last cutscene for yourself of this patch if you are not doing normal raiding, heroic raiding, or mythic raiding, if you're relying on group finder-esque content, LFR is still vastly time-gated. You could have a follower LFR mode, which would allow you to still progress through the raid, still see the raid, still see the bosses, still get a feel for some of the mechanics involved, and even get some progression for your campaign quest line, see the final cinematic. And of course, if in that scenario they did it without any loot as well, there is clear advantages. You're progressing, you're seeing everything, but it would also say to players, hey, you've done this now. If you want to loot and you want to get the better gear and you want to progress even further, now you need to go find a bunch of people to go and do it with. And that's where I think this mode could really, you know, fill a gap. It could help people learn, it could help people figure stuff out, it could help people test, and it should push people in the right direction with the overall goal of being that playing with other people is and should be the best approach. Now, obviously, some people may disagree with this, that if you're having fun, it doesn't matter if you're playing with real people or not. But an MMO, in my opinion, is at its strength when you are playing with other people, even if those other people are random people, but with the ultimate goal of finding a group of individuals that are like-minded enough that play at similar times to you. The ideological design of slowly but surely progressing towards joining a guild and finding a bunch of people and hopefully progressing through harder content and killing bigger and badder bosses. I think this is a really, really good addition to the game. I'm excited to see if they can bring this to other aspects of the game. I'd be really cool to see if this makes it past 10.2.5 into 11.0, for example, and if it would be a way to see the new dungeons as in a more chill, relaxed approach. But I'll leave it there for today, boys and girls. Let me know your thoughts on this. It's available on the PTR for you to test, so by all means, get the PTR installed.
Check out the comments.
Copy your character over there and have a little bit of a play with this yourself. If you enjoyed the video today, make sure to give the video a like, leave comments down below, and of course subscribe if you're new around here. But I've been Manthius, and I'll see you all next time, boys and girls. Peace!
Interesting. This is a retail gold making video. Let's see what the state of those.
I'm going to show you how to make low effort, easy gold from your garrison.
He's got a good transmog. He's got the Tavern of the Lightbringer.
That's not what this is. You can expect, though, that you'll make a couple thousand or more gold per day on average, as long as you're doing this on a few characters. I typically do 4, 8, sometimes 10 characters, depending on how many alts you have, things like that, right? When I'm doing that, I also use my profession cooldowns, such as transmutes and whatnot. So our goal is to be in and out of your garrison as quickly as possible so that we're not wasting time. We want this to be time efficient, and we want to be able to get to the other important things in WoW, like playing with your friends and dungeons and stuff like that. So in order to accomplish this, we are going to use an add-on called Master Plan. This add-on is going to save you an enormous amount of time. It's going to basically calculate and send all the followers on missions for you. You just got to tell them to go. It's also going to help us recruit all the right followers to make sure that every single one of those missions comes back Okay, so let's talk more specifically about what we're actually doing to make gold out of the garrison. We are using the mission table, and we are relying on these followers to bring us back as many of these garrison resources as possible. Furthermore, there are some very lucrative missions that are very important to us.
The flipping cards
Specifically,
mechanic
this one,
of the
Overcoming
garrison
Adversity
from the
and
inscription.
Eldritch Horrors. These two items right here are worth literally thousands of gold, and they sell like hotcakes. These Apexis crystals, they're still useful as long as you have a character with some Warlords of Draenor rep. You can buy battle pets using these, and those battle pets will sell for a few thousand gold a pop. Battle pets have kind of a low sale rate, so that might take some time, but that is still gold that you could be making. These Primal
battle
Spirits, you can use them as well to pick up some extra resources. These follow retraining things, sometimes they're nice for helping you reroll your followers. Anyways, this is the important thing here. These garrison resource missions. They took all the gold, the raw gold, out of the garrison mission table, but these garrison resources are literally as good as gold. So we want to get all of our followers dialed in to maximize them.
We're down to only 200 items to cancel scan
per mission, and how we do that is by recruiting followers or re-rolling followers for this extreme.
Well, I guess I did take the food off,
trait.
so
You can see
that's probably
pretty much all my followers have that. Sometimes you get super lucky and they come with extreme scavenger and then scavenger traits, so they're pulling in insane amounts of resources. So regardless, one of the things this add-on does is tells us which of the missions that these followers are actually really good at. So for example, Bren Swift Shot is only good for a couple of missions of interest for me. Now we can determine what those missions of interest are because of this add-on, and we go up to this
30.
area right here.
Come on.
And we
cancel
tell
at
the
least
add-on
50.
these missions are important, these other missions are not. And based off that, it's going to do all the math and all the calculations, it's going to figure all that stuff out, and it's going to tell you which followers of yours are useful and which ones are less useful. So furthermore, what we can do is we can groom our followers by either A, re-rolling their traits, or B, we can go to the Lunar Fall or the Frostwolf Inn. So the two buildings that we particularly need to make this system work is, again, the Lunar Fall Inn. We want it at rank 3 specifically because we need to be able to recruit a new follower each week, and we want the lucrative missions from the rank 3. We also want a trading post. At a minimum, it needs to be 1. I wouldn't worry about rank 2 or 3, although you could have your own auction house in your garrison, I think, at rank 3. Okay, we're here on Horde side because apparently I had already recruited my follower for the week on my Paladin. So here we are, and you're going to talk to the headhunter in your respective inn, and you're simply going to look for the trait, and you're going to click the drop down, and you're going to go under the increased rewards category and make sure you click on Extreme Scavenger, and you can see my followers are just totally decked out in this with this trait. And that's really the basic premise here. You're just trying to maximize the efficiency of your followers, so you're pulling in as many resources as you possibly can.
Can't see me
We're at the
there.
trading post, and we're looking at the different goods that are available here. Now, every single day, this trader is going to... They alternate. However, some days you can't see the same trader twice in a row. The prices on the trader change every day depending on the trader. Elder Surehide, for example, always sells fur at the price of 16 resources per. 16 is the cheapest value you will get. So you can see that we want to be producing as many resources as possible because it's going to consume a lot of your resources to be buying these things. But since you really don't have anything else to spend your resources on, this is just gold. So, for example, today, the price of true iron ore looks to be approximately 2 gold. So for the sake of our video, we're just going to purchase. And notice I have
That's not
almost
what I want.
10,000 resources, so we're just going to pop 400. Boom. and it's going to cost us 6,400 garrison resources.
There we go.
Boom, right? Okay, so, and then we'll go to our auction house. Okay, you can see today the price is a little inflated, but that's the reality, guys. This is the auction house. So for 400 resources, I might make 3,200 gold. This is perfect for my video, don't you think? So boom, we're gonna post this. It does not look low. This is a very good price. Trust me on that. So we're gonna post those, and hit or miss if that sells, because some people might not want to pay 8 gold per, but on average they sell for about 2 gold. So boom, there you go. Okay guys, so this is the next day. I just got on, actually I got in briefly this morning to check to see if it sold, and sure enough, it did. You can see right here, this was the original posting right here, the 3,000 gold. I actually went on all my alts, spent my resources, sent them to this character, and I posted them all as well. You can see right here, I sold 1,600 of these resources, which the majority of them I bought today. Sometimes I keep extras in my inventory from previous sessions. I made 5,742 gold from all those ores that I sold, on top of the ore that I sold yesterday or last night. And then I also sold a mount that came off of the mission table as well. So you can see, like, this is super easy. I spend a couple minutes per day on these characters, and
this guy
when
said
opportunity arises,
both in this video.
and then you haven't even seen me. You can see on the tooltip here, the last one I sold was 4,900 gold. I've sold 35 of these,
big
and
slip up.
you know, I don't know how long. The last one I sold was almost a week ago. I've sold 13 of these things. You know, I've got more to sell. So this is really low-hanging fruit, guys. Okay, a couple more things I want to address. If you're new to the garrison entirely, you're going to want to go to Wowhead. I'll post the link in the description below. And once you get your garrison just basically established, immediately try and get it upgraded to rank 2. You'll have to go through a couple quests, and then you can easily get it to rank 2, and then eventually up rank 3. While that's happening, I would go and do this path to getting followers. Now, these followers are not in any way, shape, or form guaranteed to get Extreme Scavenger, but that's not important. What's important is that you get missions going and getting levels on these followers, because even if you're not getting Extreme Scavenger value out of those early followers, you're still getting value, and you're going to need these followers to help carry the load for the new followers you're going to recruit out of your inn who do have Extreme Scavenger. These followers are going to be the ones to carry those followers on missions to get them XP as rapidly as possible, to get them up to speed. So I go to this guide if you don't have a garrison set up yet, and it's got a map here. Just scroll down, it'll tell you where to start. I recommend you have TomTom. You can click on every one of these guys depending on the zone, and it's going to give you, this one's a follower inside the garrison, but it'll give you coordinates specifically, so you can put those in and help you pinpoint their locations. So just follow this guide, get the 14 to 17 followers. It's very simple. A lot of these followers are going to be very useful, and you'll be using them for a long time. When you go to the Lunar Fall Inn, make sure that you have this set up. So the simple thing is to just follow what I've got here. High Mall Treasures, Blackrock Foundry Spoils, you can sell these or disenchant them. Primal Spirits, you can get some more resources from this, such as it's like a blood resource. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's useful for crafting, or you just sell it on the auction house. Apexis Crystals, this one, if you don't have the reps, never been to Warlords of Draenor, then you can turn this off, or you can just, you know, play the game and go get that stuff as well. Obviously the garrison resources, I wouldn't bother with oil. Medallion of Legion, obviously, I haven't seen Champion's Honor. I think they took these out of the game, so I don't even have it checked on. Cinder Pup, don't bother. Huge overcash, must have. Okay, so, and now we're in our follower tab. Pay attention to this right here. it says this guy is redundant and he's not required by any missions. He's leveled up, he's got the extreme scavenger trait, but you can see he's just not useful. So what do? Deactivate him, and boom, I already recruited her. So we have yet to see her potential, but she started off with certain traits, right? And when these characters level up, let's use this guy for example. It says he's useful for a couple of those missions, which to be honest are not that useful to me, but it is what it is, and we'll use him as a demo. So these frozen arms of the heroes, you can purchase these on the auction house. They also occasionally come from garrison missions. Use these. They cost like 300 to 500 gold. It's well worth it. You've seen, if you got this far, you've already seen how easy it is to make gold off of this. Just reinvest into your garrison. Boom, there's one. Boom, there's two. I would not bother with, well, I don't have too many of these missions available right now, but if you want to do it that way, by all means. But this is, to me, this is a time-sensitive thing. I just want to get in, I want to get out, and move on with my day. I don't want to dick around with all the gear. And with 2 of these frozen arms of the heroes, it cost me, I bought these for about 350 each. It cost me 700 gold. This guy's, boom, he's done. Right? So, that's it. Occasionally
I've never heard of
missions
those items
for these
before.
types of things. I definitely do those, because might come in useful. You might get lucky and re-roll something really cool. Typically, these are the things you'll want to re-roll. Let's, you know what, just for the sake of it, he doesn't have anything too particularly exciting for me, so we will re-roll his abilities. Traits, abilities. Let's see what we get. Boom. And you can see, well, he's useful for this mission fired up, which is resources, which honestly was better than the other stuff, I think. So, just for fun, let's do one more, right? And now he's useless. But it's whatever, right? That's pretty much it, guys. It's gonna take, weeks to get your garrison in the prime position, but that, you can start making money in your garrison within a couple weeks. Just visit it and keep sending your guys on missions, get them leveled up. Things are gonna kind of fall into place on their own, and then at that point it's just tweaking, getting better followers, getting the right traits, making sure that the right missions are dialed in. It's very low effort. And you saw already how easy it was to make gold. Not every day is like that, but it often is. So, hope you enjoyed it. Like, follow, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Peace.
This is looking pretty good. I can leave most of these bags. Actually, I just noticed what time it is. I gotta start getting ready for raid soon. I've been the Dude Broman the Hiberian. This has been my stream. Thank you for coming. You can find me everywhere, THE_DO0D. Find me at Twitter at LTherapisto. This is the therapist. Alright.